Under the multicolored canopies in the capital of Curacao, what's known as the Floating Market is bringing a cornucopia of fresh fruits to the Dutch Caribbean island. Curacao is about 45 miles north of the coast of Venezuela, and it's from Venezuela that many merchants sail to deliver fruit here. Fruit that's literally fresh off the boats and sold in stalls right in front of them, hence the term floating market. 4 years ago, Venezuela started closing its border. In this case, that means shutting off trade with Curacao and some other islands in the region. Venezuela's reasons were both political and related to alleged smuggling, but trade was resumed last year, and Curacao welcomed the change, in part because it meant the resumption of fresh produce from Venezuela, bringing prices down. Venezuela has seen better days. Roughly a third of its people struggle with poverty, and some merchants can barely afford repairs to their boats. But as trade has slowly resumed for them and for buyers in Curacao, scenes like this are having modest benefits in both places. Fridays meet awesome. Y'all are gonna be great together. I'm Carl Azuz for The World from A to Z. Means the world to have you watching. Today's non-partisan coverage continues in Washington, D.C., where the U.S. government has unveiled new rules concerning cars sold in America. The Biden administration wants most of those new cars to be electric and says 2/3 could be by the year 2032. That would be a dramatic increase from where sales are now. Last year, just over 7.5% of new cars sold were EVs, while the vast majority were gasoline-powered. But sales of new electrics had climbed to more than double what they were in 2021. Why is this a government priority? Gas-powered cars give off carbon dioxide when they run. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, which many scientists say is causing global temperatures to rise or climate change. So the Biden administration is taking steps to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from vehicles. How would it do this? By putting stricter limits on the types of emissions cars and trucks can give off. Those limits would take effect starting with the 2027 model year, which typically comes out the year before, and the government hopes they'll encourage car makers to produce more fully electric or hybrid electric vehicles. The White House also says this will save people money because they won't have to pay as much for gas and that there's less maintenance for electrics. But there are downsides. New electric cars currently cost significantly more than gas cars, even with tax credits available for EV buyers. While their battery range, the time they can run between charges, is improving, EVs take longer to charge than other cars take to gas up. Plus, many drivers are concerned the batteries will lose more range over time than gas engines do. Critics say the government's trying to force people to buy electric cars and that its new emissions rules will drive up costs for new gas vehicles. The Biden administration says its rules will drastically reduce carbon emissions and protect public health. Government requirements like these can be challenged in court. They can also be changed over time by the Biden administration or any other.
Upword Knowledge. Zhong Xin, the richest man in China, made his fortune selling what? Bottled water, real estate, Bitcoin, lithium. In 1996, Zhong founded a company called non-partisan, a popular brand of bottled water.
He's estimated to be worth more than $60 billion, or at least he was until a social media campaign began against non-partisan and Zhong Shenshen. He's been accused of not being loyal to China. According to the Wall Street Journal, Zhong wrote an essay asking people not to be misled by influencers who are trying to get attention. But neither he nor his company have responded to multiple U.S. media outlets asking whether non-partisan bottle designs favor Japan, a nation that's been an enemy of China in the past. All this is happening at a challenging time for China, whose economy has been struggling and whose government's been trying to encourage investment in private companies. What's not known is where it stands on the campaign against Zhong and non-partisan.
Zhang Shenshen is facing online attacks, accused of being not patriotic enough, in part because of the designs of some of his product packaging. On the bottles, you can see a temple, you can see a crane. Some Chinese people feel these images are inspired by Japanese culture. Now, that's upsetting to some people because of long-standing animosity between the two countries. Some Chinese people even claim the red bottle cap resembles the shape of the Japanese national flag. A perfect storm that has triggered a nationwide boycott, with people uploading videos of themselves pulling Nongfu Springs water off store shelves, all in the name of patriotism. All of this is proving to be a heavy blow to business. The online campaign has cut into Nongfu's sales as well as its share price, wiping about $3 billion off its market capitalization since the end of February, according to a CNN calculation. But views on the streets are much calmer.
We should have a fair and just attitude. We shouldn't be intensifying conflicts. That serves no good for our own government either.
Maybe it is inspired by Japanese architecture, but it could also be inspired by traditional Chinese architecture. If you look back in history, didn't Japan learn from China too? I think it's wrong to be connecting product design to politics.
As Beijing tries to rally behind the private sector in the midst of an economic slump, many worry this war on bottled water could see the business community's confidence dry up even further.
On this date in world history. On March 22, 1765, the British Parliament passed its first direct tax on the American colonies. The Stamp Act imposed taxes on printed materials, including newspapers, legal documents, magazines, and playing cards. The tax was later repealed, but others were imposed, angering the colonists and eventually contributing to the American Revolution. The Masters Golf Tournament debuted on this date in 1934. Golf legend Bobby Jones co-founded the Augusta National Golf Club in eastern Georgia. He came out of retirement to play in the first tournament, which was won by Horton Smith. It's the only major championship played on the same course every year, and a green jacket is given to its winner. And British rock band The Beatles released their first album on this date in 1963. It was titled Please Please Me and included hits such as Love Me Do and Twist and Shout. Beatles mania spread around the globe, and the members known as the Fab Four became hugely influential. You've heard of a free-for-all. Today we've got a Friday three-for-all, beginning with two states that start with W. It's great to have Mr. Tucker's class with us today from the Tiger Morton Juvenile Detention Center. It's in Dunbar in the Mountain State of West Virginia. Next to Wyoming, the Cowboy State, where Mountain View Middle School is online. Hello to Mr. Bennett's class in the town of Mountain View. And on the West Coast, in the Golden State of California, Miss Reyes' class is here. The North Park High School Adult Transition Program is in the city of Baldwin Park. Even if you're completely unfamiliar with the sport of sandboarding, you've probably just pictured this in your mind. And it doesn't have to be done on your feet. Some tourists are bodyboarding down the dunes, reaching speeds as high as 50 miles per hour, and it's a bit of an adventure just to get here on the back of a quad bike. It's all taking place at a resort town of Namibia in southern Africa. And while all you see here are waves and waves of sand, the recreation is just a stone's throw from the nation's Atlantic coast. Snowboarding at the beach without the cold or the sharks. A sandblaster's blast blasting down a sand park understandable that sandnatics where it never rains would find something so sandable surfing up against the grains. It's a shame to feign that boarding's only for the snow when fun is carving down the dunes where dusty sandstorms blow. I'm Carl Azuz for the world from A to Z, and we hope your weekend is sandtastic.